And we're back. This is the Old Grappler OG podcast. I'm Jose, and my guest today is Craig Wallace.
Hello, everybody.
Craig is actually my jiu-jitsu coach over at Strike Fitness, and he's been there for just over a year.
Coming up on a year and a half already.
Yeah. Nice. So today we're here to get Craig's story in his grappling journey. So get a little backstory on you and when you started your jiu-jitsu journey for the second time this evening.
Once upon a time, long time ago, in a far, far away galaxy.
I'm Castros full service. What am I saying? Check. I'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, Castros Pool Service and Repair. Phone number 209-675-5418. I am Castros Pool Service and Repair. Thanks. The Old Grappler just awarded my blue belt. I've been coaching wrestling for about 14 years now. When I get in there, it is like everything just goes away. Like you're in there coaching on the mat for jiu-jitsu. It's a way of therapy. The Old Grappler.
Just basically, I wrestled a couple years in high school and really enjoyed it. And I progressed pretty well for only having 2 years of it. And after high school, family responsibilities and stuff like that, I was working over the hill in San Jose at the old Bob Lewis Volkswagen. And just had something missing in life and just wanted something additional. And a guy named Josh Thompson was a fighter, came into the dealership with a friend to drop off a car, and I got to talking to him and invited me to come down to the AKA in San Jose and check it out, and so I did. Sat there, I watched Dave Camarillo teach a class, and next day signed up, just like that.
So when you first got started, that first class, how did that go? Like, so you said you had wrestling background a couple years. Were you thinking that it was after seeing the first class and then going in and taking your first class, did that wrestling background help you in any way?
I think it gave me a leg up a little bit because you kind of knew how to move your body, position it a little bit. You kind of understood some aspects of the ground game, but I mean, it was a completely different situation. Funny story is the young lady who Dave paired me up with that gave me my first lesson is actually Mike, my main instructor. It's actually now his wife. So
oh, wow.
Everything just kind of comes full circle.
Small circle, huh?
Full circle.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
So now you took that class over at AKA in San Jose, and then how long was your journey there in AKA?
Long time. I was there for probably about 3 years. And then I got a different job at Sunnyvale Volkswagen. And right down the street, a gentleman named Alex, which was one of, I'm not sure if he was Dave's student or if he was somebody else's student, but he trained there with us quite a bit. But he opened up his own AKA in Sunnyvale. So since it was right down the street, I just started going over there and training.
That's cool.
Oh, yeah.
So from San Jose to Sunnyvale was how long in your journey?
Oh, let's see. I was there for probably about a year and a half, and then I turned around and, that's when the economy crashed in 2008, and then
that was fun.
Oh, yeah. I was unemployed for a while and was working down here in this area and gave up training for about 5 years. And then when I got my old job back at Sunnyvale VW, I started training with Alex again.
Sweet. And so after that, after the economy crash and life happens, once you jump back in and were going full time again, how long of that part of it stayed in Sunnyvale? Because now you're at One World, correct?
Yeah. Well, back then, Mike Prudencio was coming down, and he was actually helping with Alex in the jiu-jitsu class. So it was kind of Mike's program and Alex's program. And when I first stepped back on the mat, that's the hardest thing. Like, people talk about what's really, really hard with jiu-jitsu is if you leave for a time period and then you come back and you already have a certain pedigree, or you already have a certain experience, and you kind of come back into it after like years off. Yeah, you kind of have some concepts, you still have some kind of knowledge and stuff like that, but your timing is off. I gained 50 pounds, so I was pushing 200 when I got back.
So plump,
yeah.
cheap, Craig.
Oh yeah, I was thick boy podcast.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had to relearn a lot of positioning, body control, and then I had to lose the weight, and then just kind of really get back into it. But day in, day out, every day, and eventually the weight came off, and I started progressing from there. And I was there for probably, well, Alex just closed his gym at the beginning of COVID, so I was there all the way until, from 2012 until
early 2020,
yeah,
right?
early 2020. Yeah,
came in.
Yep.
That's funny that you talk about like taking the time off and coming back, because shit, I took 30 years off from the mats. Yeah, I coach wrestling, but I didn't have any jiu-jitsu experience. So when you came in and started jiu-jitsu class, I was like, okay, like, let's give this a try. It looks a lot like wrestling, like to a certain extent, but here we go. Like, positioning, like coaching is one thing and showing positioning, but getting positioning through a live situation is not always
no, it's not easy.
So even when you're drilling, like the drilling part of it, it's half speed per se, so that you can get the technique down.
Mm-hmm.
But then you put that live situation into it 30 years later, I'm like, holy shit, what I get myself into. But this is fun.
Well, let's not make any excuses here. When we first met each other, you were already in open mat. It was an open mat situation. You had already gone to a couple open mats for jiu-jitsu, not really know what to expect.
Not knowing a goddamn thing.
Yeah, but the after like I don't even think it was the first class. I think it was just like we were talking about a few things and running some just running some technique, and we were talking at that open mat. And the first thing you said, or one of the first things you said, was like, oh shit, there's levels to this shit. And you know, I don't think anybody's quite put it in as simple terms that had an overall huge meaning as to what jiu-jitsu is. And yeah, every situation, every technique, there's different levels to everything, and it's just different. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's so simple to be from an outsider and then just look in and just grasp that. And I think from then you were kind of like hooked. Yeah, you got the jiu-jitsu bug, as we call it.
For sure. So I think it was a month and a half, 2 months, and I was already signed up to compete.
Yeah.
Like, both feet in, let's go.
Yeah, I was quite surprised. I was asked to coach. I wasn't quite sure how I felt about that, because nobody really had asked me to coach. And I was kind of thinking to myself, okay, am I good enough? Can I coach? Can I teach? Do I understand jiu-jitsu well enough to teach? I mean, there's all this self-doubt and self-things just kind of going through your mind, because you're trying to be as humble as possible, because, I mean, it's a humbling experience and journey. And then you're asked to coach and teach, and then, like, you got a couple classes in, and all of a sudden this guy comes up to me and he's like, all right, I'm in my first tournament. Like, whoa, wait, what the hell did I get myself into? Now I'm going to go to a tournament, and this guy's going to be out there, and I'm going to be over here, and I'm going to look the fool, and like, what the hell are you teaching this guy? And I was not quite prepared for that, and went home and told the wife, like, yeah, I already got people signed up for a competition. She's like, what the hell? And I was like, I don't know. We're going to see. But
that was fun. That was
that was an experience
for sure. Like, going there, and then for me having to fight that guy that I already knew that was another wrestling coach from down the road.
Let me tell about that story. So Jose gets in there and he's got like, I don't know, was it your first competitor?
It was the first one.
Guy?
Yeah.
It was your first guy, right? It was his first guy. The guy gets in there and there's just like two old bulls just up there trying to fight for a takedown. And then if I remember right, you had to finally do something, and then he capitalized and got his 2 points, right?
Did.
So,
well, from your perspective of that situation, that's how it happened.
But then we got to talking there afterwards, and the guy's like, "Oh yeah, I used to train over at Dave Camarillo's in the early 2000s, and this and that and everything." I was like, "Wait a minute, how in the hell is this guy?" And I just I was like, "Man,
bullshit.
I smell bullshit. There's some bullshit stories here. What the hell's going on?" So I started talking to him a little bit more and this and that and everything, and it sounded like he had trained. Maybe when I wasn't there, he had come in and, you know, he had trained for a little bit and this and that and everything. So then I asked him, that was like 10, 15 years ago, "What the hell are you still doing as a white belt competing against a brand new guy in a white belt tournament?" "Oh, well, nobody saw fit to promote me." I'm like, the fuck is that? What do you mean nobody saw fit to promote you? Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but if you have wrestling, if you have some jiu-jitsu experience, like 3 months, 6 months, or let's say a year and a half or 3 years, if you go to like other different tournaments, you're in a completely different category. You're no longer in a beginner, you're in a novice. And then a little bit of time after that, then you're in another category, and then up to advanced. And then, so this guy, just by sheer time training, whether he had been taught at a school or he's just been training at open mats and, you know, doing a global BJJ trotters type of thing, he should not have been in that match. he should have been nowhere near the beginners or the white belt match that you guys were in. And I was like, "Oh, all right, whatever there, guy, whatever." But you did quite well. If I remember right, you lost to that guy, but you had another competitor that if I remember right, I think you won, didn't you?
Yeah. In the no. So I had 2 in the no-gi, and then there was supposed to be 3 in the gi, but one of the guys no-showed or something.
Yeah, something like that.
So, that first tournament against the second guy was I didn't even have the Kimura or the Americana locked up, and the guy was tapping, and you're like, "What did you have locked up?" Because you didn't have you couldn't see him. I was like, "Shit, I didn't even get close to locking it up," and he was tapping. He was tapping to the pressure. So
pressure.
Yeah, so that part of it, geez, seems so long ago already that
that's over a year now.
I'm 4 tournaments deep now.
Is it only 4?
Only 4.
Only 4.
The last one that I got bamboozled by.
Oh, no, you didn't get bamboozled. Stop it. Quit crying.
Yeah. Hey,
quit crying.
Definitely no crying. But
How did you get bamboozled?
I was told there'll be people your level. No, there would be people your level.
Okay.
And in your age range.
Approximately.
And
approximately.
Yeah. But then you came and you said it won't be more than 10 years. So I'm almost 50. I'm thinking, okay, worst case, he's going to be almost 40. How old were these guys, Coach? 24
really
and 29.
He didn't get bamboozled. Stop it. But he was. I threw him in a blue belt and purple belt tournament, and which he was more than able to handle himself. I wasn't worried about that. You were supposed to get some people approximately your size and your age group. That was the goal.
Well, my size, both of those
they
guys
had all
were
heard about
boys.
you, and they were afraid.
Oh, shit.
So they didn't show up. So you ended up having their kids show up.
For sure, huh?
So he ended up having I think it was a 24-year-old purple belt.
Yeah.
Right? And then
training for 6
years. Yeah, training for 6 years, and then a 29-year-old blue belt. Was that right?
Yeah, and he was training for 4.5.
Yeah. And you did pretty well.
Yeah.
Come on.
I learned.
It came down to the blue belt. You and the blue belt. It was an armbar shootout. You didn't quite understand the rule set or the time frame on it, so you
ear
lost the
hustled
armbar
the wrong
shootout.
thing.
Nothing wrong with that. And then the purple belt got you with what, 2 points or 3 points, like within the last 30 seconds.
Yeah.
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 So you more than handled your own. See?
Yeah,
and
it's
now,
all right.
what did you get the other day?
Oh, I got promoted to blue belt.
Okay, then. See? Test successful. Thank you. You're welcome.
There we go. Yeah, that was funny because Mike, your coach, he's like, Craig, promote you yet? God damn, I had to talk to that fucker. He needs to give you a blue belt already. I'm like, it'll come when it comes. I'm not worried about that. Belts, I just want to train.
See, and that's the perfect mindset, because we all just want to train. I mean, when I got my belts, I didn't ever think that I was ready for them, or I never thought that I was. I never thought I was going to get promoted when I got my promotions, except for my purple belt. I really felt like I earned and deserved that one, but brown belt, when that came, I was a little shocked by that. Definitely the black belt came, I was definitely shocked by that. And with every advancement, I just like, every time I get, it's like, oh shit, do I really earn this? Do I really deserve this? And can I live up to what this represents? You know,
right.
Maybe not to what everybody else thinks it represents, but what it represents to me. And I don't know. I mean, that's just the journey. I mean, every day I still think about that, and you know, every day I just train and hope to do the best that I can to honor, you know, the belts and the coaches and the years that I have into it.
Right.
So.
Yeah, I remember you saying that when they were doing the promotions for when you got your black belt, that you had discussed with your wife, like, yeah, I'm not going to get promoted today. Like,
yeah.
And she was kind of, I'll let you elaborate on that story.
The story was that I competed pretty heavily as a purple belt. And then I got my brown belt. And then COVID hit real soon there afterwards. So I didn't get a chance to compete as a brown belt. Well, I take that back. Actually, I did compete a couple times as a brown belt. But I didn't get to go to Worlds. I didn't get to do a lot of the other tournaments and stuff that I wanted to do, that I had been doing as a purple belt. So got my brown belt. COVID hit. Was out training for 2 months. I was actually, just when I get back from work, I would just put a backpack on, throw a bunch of weights in it, and just do like this 2-3 mile hike / walk / run, which actually I'd actually come right down this street right here and go all the way around back to my place. But then I called Mike, and I go, Mike, do you guys have anything going on? You have any kind of in-house? Is anybody getting together? Is anybody doing anything? And then he says, I'll get back to you. So, okay. And then later on that day.
That was definitely the COVID answer.
Yeah. And then later on the day, he's like, be to practice at 5:30. And I was, okay. And so I drove down there, and there was probably about maybe 5 guys, but it was like 3 to 4 guys on average. And it was very, very close group of guys, and just like these little pods that we would, you know, train with and stuff like that. And so I continued training through COVID, got a lot of one-on-one instruction with my instructor and some of the other guys. So a lot of the holes that I had in my game, I really got a chance to work on and focus on, and really kind of solidify things and put a lot of things together. Then COVID started lightening up, started looking at the possibilities of competing again here as a brown belt. And once competition started coming back to California and things of that nature, and then it was right after I started coaching. So right after I started coaching.
Yeah.
So I figured if I started coaching, maybe that would elevate my game, and that'd be the next step. And then, you know, eventually I would get the black belt. And the goal was, once I got my brown belt, I figured by 50, the black belt. That was the goal. If I was 50, I wanted to have my black belt by 50.
Well, then, shoot, you missed that one, right?
Yeah, I definitely missed that one, because
you're way past 50, right?
I'll have my first stripe before 50. Thank you, fucker. So then I was like 47, and I got a phone call one day.
Shout out
before
to the over 40s.
We got a phone call before promotions, and they were asking me, "Hey, you ready?" I said, "Ready for what?" And they said, "For your black belt." I said, "No." I said, I don't want it. And they said, why? And I said, well, I have unfinished business as a brown belt. I said, I still want to compete at Worlds. I still want to do a lot more competition now that things are opening up. And I was told, too bad, it's not your choice. But then I explained myself, and they were like, oh, okay, I understand. Well, that's respectable. I understand. Okay, all right. And that was the end of the conversation. And I thought, okay, I wasn't going to get my promotion because I didn't want it. I wanted to stay competing. And usually if you're competing and you're coming up on a promotion, usually you delay getting your promotion, continue your tournament career for that year, and then maybe the next year you get your promotion or something of that nature. So went to promotions. I had talked to the wife, and she had always said, I want to be there for your black belt promotion. And I told her, okay, well, I'm not getting it this time, but I'm going to promotions, do the potluck or the barbecue, and bear witness to all of that. And then Mike started calling up people for the promotions, and next are a group of black belts that I want to promote. And he called me up, and I was just like, oh man, I'm gonna be such trouble with the wife. I said, she's gonna kill me now. Don't give me this thing. But accepted it. Gave a speech, thanked my wife for it. Posted it up on Instagram if you want to see some of that. And so then I got my black belt at 47, and that was a little over a year ago now. So, and it took, I think I was a total of 18 years in, and I had like a 5-year hiatus somewhere in there. So it was like 18 years minus the 5. So continuous training, 13, 14 years to get there. And I was a quintessential blue belt for 10 years. So I don't know if you guys heard that, but there's stories of people being blue belts for 10 years. I was one of those blue belts.
We
for
know
10
one
years.
of those guys.
Do we?
Well, yeah.
Oh, who?
He's sitting behind over there producing.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
No, he's not.
Yeah, we must be talking about Jesse, our famous producer.
Yeah.
Mr. Hassel of Hair himself.
There we are.
Which funny story is about that guy. He's the one that approached me, and he didn't beg me to come teach, but his enthusiasm for me to come aboard and teach, I was just like, okay, all right. And his enthusiasm to get me to come aboard really is what really, okay, fine, I'll give it a try, and here I am now.
It's funny because the same enthusiasm got me as the wrestling coach to go over
right
there. So you talked about competing. When did you start competing? And let's kind of go through that. And we know you have a fight coming up here, February 4th, correct?
Correct. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about your journey in your competitions, and then we could talk about how you came up on getting this on this fight card for February 4th.
First competition I did, we drove all the way down to Camarillo Jiu-Jitsu. Dan Camarillo, Dave's brother, is actually out of Bakersfield, and he had an in-house tournament, so we went all the way down there. What really sucked about that is I get all the way down there, and the one guy that I have to compete against is a guy named John Barris, who had been always whooping my ass at my own gym. So I drove all the way down there, and the one guy that I competed against was the guy that I trained with that had been whooping my ass the whole time at my own gym. So I didn't need to drive down to Bakersfield for that.
Get that ass
I already
whooping.
knew how that was going to turn out.
You could have stayed home and got that ass
whooping. Back at AKA in San Jose, I got my ass just whooped all the time. It was just constant beat down. But I kept showing up. I kept trying, and I got better over time. But the guys that came out of there, they didn't have a strict fighters jiu-jitsu and grappling like they do now. Mm-hmm. They had the jiu-jitsu practitioners and the fighters all together. So you had like Josh Thompson training, you had John Fitch training, you had Josh Koscheck training, you had people that were just coming in, you had Trevor Prangley coming in, you had all these studs of fighters that were coming in and training. I mean, there was like Tim Kennedy was there for a while.
And you just had Murderers Row.
Dude, you have no idea, man. It's like I had a blue belt, and these guys were coming out with white belts if they were a white belt at the time. I don't think any of them actually were, but be honest with you. But just like I had a blue belt, and like someone else would come out with a blue belt, and it was different. It was like I was a practitioner. I was the dad that was going down there and practicing and learning and doing something outside of the normal comfort zone. And these guys coming out, no, they were killers, man. They were legit killers. They had one speed, they had one speed, and it was murder, And she's like, if you practice a drill, they'd come out and just like molly whoop you and just move on to the next one. You just picked yourself back up, got back in line, and went back out there and got my ass whooped again. But there was a lot of us that were training, and we ended up kind of just like staying after class and training with each other, a few guys my size and stuff like that. But they were all pretty much younger than I was, and I was a little older, a little bit out of shape compared to these guys. And, but I spent years learning great defense. So defense is now on point. When I roll with somebody, I'm not usually too worried about getting submitted. There are some people out there that just go right through me like butter, but for the most part, if they're about my size, if they're about my age group, I'm not too concerned about getting submitted. So, but my career as far as competing.
Coach Craig, can you lower the mic a little bit? Just a little bit. Yeah, right there.
So my career as a competitor hasn't been great. I've obviously lost more than I've won, but I mean that's with any tournament. You're always going to lose something when you go to the tournament. But a lot of times it'll just be like me and one other guy, me and a couple guys. But got my share of victories, got my share of gold at home, belts at home. But there's just something about competing. Like when you get out there's nothing else that I can equate to. Like you commute, you go to work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, 8 to 6, day in, day out. Life comes and goes. When you step out on the mat, on a competition, everything is alive. I mean, there's nothing quite like it. Like when you step out there, it's just all of a sudden you're alive. And in that moment, nothing else matters. Nothing else is going on. It's just you and that other person in front of you. And yeah, it's a friendly competition, but the guy in front of you legit can choke you out and kill you. Can break an arm, break a leg, pop elbows, pop shoulders. Can do a lot of damage.
Right.
And you have to be in it in order not to get hurt or to hurt your opponent. So just the mental clarity that comes with it, and just in that moment. And then when you win and you come off, there's that there's that
high.
runner's high
Yeah.
that you will have for days. I remember going into work on like Monday sore as shit because I won on Sunday or Saturday, and still have that high, sore as shit, but I would still be on cloud nine with that victory.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times my wife went and she would go watch, and my hat goes off to her, and I thank her a lot because she put up with a lot. She gave up a lot of time with me for training and stuff like that. But she supported me, and she'd come to the tournaments and stuff like that, and she'd be there, and I'd come back off the mat, and she'd be like, you did wrong, right? And I'm like, what? And then she'd explain it to me. And I'm like, how in the hell does she know? And she's like,
She's
I
reading
watch.
them books.
Yeah, she watches. She picked up a lot of books and stuff like that. So my hat's off to her. She supported me the whole way through.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So going through all that, then you becoming coach over at Strike, and you're still training over at One World. You're training us over here at Strike. And then this opportunity arises a couple weeks back.
Yeah. So in my career, as far as competing, I've lost a lot of matches by 2 points, ref's decision. I mean, they were just super close. And there was even times where I dominated the positioning, but I didn't escape a half guard, so I didn't get any legit points for it, but stuffed my opponent. They weren't able to get takedowns and just things of that nature. So one of the guys that I'm currently training with, he asked me one day, he's like, hey, he goes, my buddy's putting on a tournament up in, I think it was Alameda, right? Was it Alameda, the Legacy one?
Yeah,
that you guys went
Alameda.
to? And he said that that there was a guy there as a black belt, and he needed somebody to compete against, and asked if I wanted to do it. And I was a brown belt, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. I mean, what do I have to lose, right? If I go in there and I win, great. Then I've established something, and I've, as a brown belt, beat a black belt, which is great. Back in my day, though, when we first started, when you would go to a tournament, they would actually put black belts and brown belts together in brackets just because they didn't have enough people. So it was not uncommon to see brown belts and black belts competing together or with each other. But yeah, I took this opportunity. I went there, and I lost by 2 points.
Another loss by 2 points.
Another loss by 2 points, yeah. Another loss by 2 points. And I figured, well, shit. I definitely held my own. I didn't get molly whooped. I didn't get submitted. Just came down to the fact that he got 2 for a takedown and ended up in my guard. And, well, the match kind of got stale at that point. We didn't really advance anywhere from there. So he got his 2 for a takedown for guard, and that was it. That was the end of the match. And the guy was really cool. He was a really nice guy. We got to talking. I had seen his son around many tournaments, so I knew who his son was. And, yeah, so we kind of stayed in touch. He hits me up from time to time, see if there's anybody that can do, like, other MMA events and stuff of that nature or train. And the other day, about a week ago, I got a phone call from him, and he says, hey, he goes, I need a favor. And I said, yeah, what's up? And he goes, I got a fight coming up. He goes, but my guy backed out. Okay. He goes, I want to know if you could fill in. He goes, I love their match. He goes, I love our camaraderie. He goes, I love the opportunity. And I said, yeah, tell me about it. And so he did. So he talked to me about it, and he told me it's with, I think it's Dan Compton? Daniel Compton's MMA event over in Santa Cruz. So it'll be February 4th. I reached out to those guys. They reached out to me, confirmed the match. So yeah, it's going to be a no-gi black belt match between that gentleman and I, and we'll see how things go from there.
Cool. So that training, that you got a lot on your plate.
Oh yeah. Training originally started because commute home from work was so terrible. Hated driving with all the traffic. So work out a couple hours after work, take off, go home. Traffic was a lot less. So it helped with the commute quite a bit.
Well, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
For me, when I go into training, like obviously we talked about me coaching. I coach at the high school here in town, and then I coach wrestling over at Strike as well. But for me, the training is just therapy. Like you have a day, good or bad. You walk into the facility that you're training at or you're coaching at, and like everything just goes away. Like that day, good or bad, once you're in there, like once I go into the wrestling room at the high school, it didn't matter what happened, good or bad through the day. All I'm focused on is getting those kids ready for the next competition, making sure that they're advancing, they're progressing in what I'm trying to get them to understand about wrestling. And when I'm doing that, for those 2 hours, all I think about is the training.
Yeah, what's going on in front of you.
Yeah, so
is it the same for you when you were training?
Back when I was in school versus coaching?
No. Now, like when you go and you're coaching, you're in the moment. But what about when you're training and you're in the moment?
In the moment, yeah.
Yeah, it's the same, or is it different?
Well, it's a little bit different as a coach versus a practitioner, because as a coach, I'm the one giving the instruction and making sure that they're understanding, right? But as the practitioner, like, I'm trying to absorb all the instruction that you're giving, and then trying to make sure that I am implementing that correctly into the game, and that doesn't always go as planned.
You do quite well. You do
that
quite well.
motto, it depends. I hear that way too much because I have a lot of questions in class.
You do.
I'm probably the one that asks the most questions.
Yeah.
But like I look at it as how am I going to be efficient? Like, my game is different than your game, right? Like, I'm a top game. I'm top heavy, right? I want to be on top. I don't want to be underneath. I'm just not comfortable coming from the wrestling background. But I put myself there a lot now versus the first few months. Like, I didn't know.
You put yourself on the bottom?
Yeah, quite a bit now.
So no need to. Stay on top. Stay your top game.
Well, then I'm not veering away from being on top. Like, like when we go to Coffee Crew. Shout out to Coffee Crew. No dojo tripping. When we go there, like, I'll pull to half guard 99% of the time, just so that I work my way out of that situation, back on top, and then work. But because I'm so uncomfortable there's always that thing in my head that you have to put yourself into the uncomfortable position so that you become better.
So you become comfortable in those uncomfortable positions.
I don't know if we'll be comfortable, but
you'll get comfortable. There's not many bad positions that I get put into that I'm not comfortable in. You know, sometimes I allow them to get too deep, and then I can't work out, and I get caught. Other times it's in pretty deep in a bad situation, and I'm able to work out of it. You know, depending upon who I'm rolling with, you know, in that situation, that might just be a win in itself. You know, let's say if I have you on top, and I got to work out from the bottom, and I got to escape and sweep of some sort, or escape and get to side control, or get to knee on belly. For me to get somebody like you off of me, that's going to be a win. You know, and I'm going to take that. Now, if you're training at, if you're doing like an open mat or something like that, and you're training somewhere, if the person is smaller than you and you pull them on top and you're into a half guard position, fine. If you're there and you're training specifically because you want to work something specific and you're working for a goal, then that's fine. But if there's like you and somebody else that's of equal, there's no point in you pulling a half guard position unless you know you're going to go right to a sweep or you're setting something else up. You know, if you're going to be playing the game, then play the top game, because there's no reason for you to give up that position in live rolling unless you're working something specific, training with somebody smaller, giving them an opportunity or something of that nature.
Right.
You know, if you're not much of a threat and you could work, you know, then work. But if you get stuck in that half guard position, you just can't go anywhere, then you just spent that 5-6 minute round not really developing anything.
Yeah, true. But I pick and choose who I'm pulling that half guard.
Okay.
I'm not pulling that half guard with one of the black belts. I'm just not comfortable being underneath there. You know
why give them a heads up, right? Why give them a head start?
I'm already behind in that situation. We'd slap and bump, and I'm like, all right, what this ass whooping gonna be like today? But yeah, that the open mat part I really enjoy. I enjoy all aspects of the training so far. I mean,
how about the camaraderie? What do you think of the camaraderie?
It's crazy to see how much camaraderie is there. Like the open mat thing, like there's open mat for wrestling, but I don't feel like the camaraderie of what I see in the jiu-jitsu community is anywhere close in the wrestling community. Like, the wrestling, even though you compete against each other in jiu-jitsu, like in the wrestling community, I like, don't get me wrong, I see kids that are cool with each other, that like they know each other because they're on the circuit going through the tournaments and what have you, and they're all right with each other, but you don't see like the open mats like you do with jiu-jitsu. Like, and I guess this is something on the newer side, right? It didn't used to be open mat so much back in the day.
Back in the day, a long time ago, it was very, very in-house. It's like, you train here, you train only here with us. You
Right.
don't train elsewhere.
And see,
Not so
that's-
much now. There's been a lot of people that have come along, and the motto is train with everybody. Like Coffee Crew, no dojo tripping. Everybody trains, everybody learns together. That's how
Right.
we elevate, and that's how we grow. And I think for the American Jiu-Jitsu program within America, I think that's really, really allowed the Jiu-Jitsu community to explode as dominantly as it has. I mean, this has only been here for what, 20, well, I guess now probably about 30 years, or coming up on 30 years now. And for the most part, from what we can see on the world stage, it appears that the American Jiu-Jitsu is really dominating. I could be wrong. I could be totally off base on that, but from what we see,
right.
I would say that's pretty accurate.
Well, you look at, like, since you're bringing up American Jiu-Jitsu, like you look at like the ADCCs that just happened a few months back. I can't remember how many weight classes there is, but there's not too many weight classes on the guy's side. There's 2 on the girl's side, and one was an American and then the other girl was from like England, way or somewhere over there. Fiona, she won. So on the girls' side, there wasn't a Brazilian jiu-jitsu, that won. But on the guys' side, you look at Gordon Ryan, and that guy's
That's something
just
else.
an American that's just dominating. And
That
in
whole
his
Donner
finals,
squad, that death squad that they had, that was just, that's a whole nother elevation in the game. Like, you're talking about levels to this. That's just like a whole nother level what they brought to it, and they really expanded jiu-jitsu and its concepts, just enveloping a lot of stuff. There was a lot of other people that came along prior to that death squad, or right around the same time, that probably don't get the same amount of credit that probably should. But I don't think there's ever been a team that's come out that's been as dominant as that team has been.
right?
You know.
Well, like, going back to Gordon in his finals match for the tournament itself, he had the guy from the B team, Nicky Rod, both Americans. Nicky Rod come from a wrestling background. His brother J Rod, same wrestling background, and his brother had won, I think, the West Coast ADCC trials, and he was there. But it's just, you talk about how the Americans have come along. I'm new to it, so like I look and I see, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, well, look at this guy. These Brazilians are dominating, and then you got these guys, the Americans, and like the Ruotolo brothers. Those guys are smashing people. You got Mikey Musaneki, who's at One World smashing. He tore that guy's leg off almost.
I wish he was at One World.
One FC.
He's my size. I could definitely train with him for a little bit. He can help me, teach me quite a bit.
So,
but yeah, you just got those guys that are just coming out and just like dominating, and it's just amazing. I mean, like going all the way back to like Eddie Bravo when he was coming out, and he was dominating everybody. He had his own funky style that he was implementing and stuff like that. And, it's just, the American culture is a little bit more of train with everybody and everybody training together, and cross training a lot. And I think that's really developed our game compared to a lot of other areas.
Right.
And there's even a lot of Brazilians that actually come up here and they establish a home base and they train up here.
Yeah. Well, the super fight, right, was with Galval, right?
Yeah.
The Andre Galval.
Yeah.
He has the Atos in San Diego. So, I mean,
And
that
his
guy,
affiliates all over the place.
that
too.
guy's won how many? You know,
Yeah.
he's back to like
I think
4 or
up
5
until
titles, something like that.
yeah, I think up until Gordon, I think he was the most dominant, the most dominant champion, championships under his belt.
Yeah,
I don't know if Gordon surpassed him yet or not, but Gordon beat him. So it's pretty amazing.
He hasn't
But that's a
surpassed him
whole
on
nother level.
titles, how many he has, but
Yeah,
he kind of dominated that guy.
yeah. That's a whole nother level. We talk about ADCs compared to what we do. We're just I have a black belt, but I make no qualms with saying that's a whole different level.
Yeah, but I mean, they're gonna have that back in Vegas again in 2024.
Yeah.
I think that's something that.
Which, by the way, did I tell you that you're going to be going to Vegas?
No.
You're going to be going to Vegas to Worlds as a
Okay.
blue belt sometime. So now you
You
know.
heard it here first.
Now you know.
I'm coming.
Maybe not this year. Maybe not this year.
Maybe this year too. I'm coming. So cool. That I mean, all that's American Jiu-Jitsu and what we're talking about, like the Ruotolo brothers. They were training from little guys. I watched an interview, and now I see that you're gonna start teaching little kids at Strike.
Yeah.
So
that's
that's
scary step.
another little journey in your.
It's another scary step. And that's what that is. That's scary. Monday will be our first practice.
Just don't let it be like Kindergarten Cop with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
No. Let's make no mistake. A lot of those kids are not much smaller than I am, so they're fair game.
Like that part of it, that's cool. Like I going back to the Ruotolos, they were like 3-4 years old when they started, and that, you know, like I have a grandson that's 2, and man, I'm like, shit, he's starting a kids program. He's almost ready. Like I was counting the days that I could get him in there and get him started on his little journey.
About, you have a garage, just get some mats, throw them down.
Oh shit, I gotta clean that fucking thing out first.
Yeah, you and I both.
Yeah, so we'll end with some advice from you to me, and well, not all the other white belts, because now I'm a blue belt. But
we're wrapping this up already?
Oh, you got more? What you got?
Come
on, bring it. What you got? What else?
Let me ask you something.
Jeez,
how
here we go.
How do you feel your wrestling background is transitioned into jiu-jitsu for you?
The top game is it transitioned pretty damn nice. Like, I'm so top dominant. Like, I want to be on top. I want to control. So that part is great. Like, great. I still got a lot to work on, but I see that the wrestling has really enhanced what I don't know that I know now, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, where a beginner white belt that has no wrestling background versus a beginner white belt like me that has the wrestling, the competing side of wrestling, and now the coaching side of wrestling, it's night and day, right? Like, something that they think that they're going to be able to do against someone like me at the beginner level. You know, like, I didn't wrestle in college, so when we sign up for the tournaments, it says if you've wrestled in college, you're up, you're more advanced. So technicality wise, like, I didn't wrestle in college. You know, I went to Marine Corps right out of school, but
yeah, but you have the knowledge, you have the skill set, and you just got to train your body to do that.
it's like like we'll talk about the blue belt, purple belt. It's a jiu-jitsu match, but by all means, I tried to make it into a wrestling match. Like, hang on their head, get them tired. Like, but like the blue belt, he was deceivingly that, like, I didn't think he was going to be as strong as he was. Like, he was deceivingly strong.
How do you think that they felt when they found out that you were a white belt doing the blue belt, purple belt matches with them?
Oh yeah, that was interesting. Like,
and then they found out that you were twice their age.
And then they found out I was only training for a year, and they were both like,
6 years in.
"What? Really? Damn, you could come and train with us." Like, both of them, like, open opportunity to come and
that's
train
that
with
camaraderie that I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's that camaraderie that, everybody wants to train to get better.
Yeah, that was cool. That, like, for me, like, I'm a lone wolf. I like doing a lot of stuff on my own, and that camaraderie, like, everybody's just so welcoming, like when we were there at that blue belt, purple belt, we were reffing.
Yeah.
So I really, like, I knew a few
you had
people.
no coaches.
I knew a few people from One World because we had gone there before to the other open mat and the appreciation and promotion deal that day. So you introduced me to a lot of these guys, and then, like, through the open mats, like, I met Baker. I probably met him.
That's an amazing story. Because you guys were both. You were at a seminar and an open mat all the way down in Visalia, right?
Yeah.
That's all the way on the other side of Fresno.
Yeah, it's like
right?
like a 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Fresno.
So that's 2 hours from here, right? About 2 hours from here.
Yeah.
And that's probably a good 4 hours from the Bay Area from where I train at. So, it's quite a ways away. And then all of a sudden on a Saturday or Sunday, I get this picture that pops up. And it's Jose and a gentleman that we know, Ant Baker, that shout out to him and his things he got going with Omni Solutions or Physical Solutions. All of a sudden I get a picture of you two guys just like hanging out and just like, a big old hug and like a selfie. I was like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But
So
he was all the way down there with you, and you guys just happened to meet each other. And then another time I got a picture of you and Gary.
Yeah.
Scary Gary.
Yeah.
So small world.
So I'm sure I met both those guys the first day when we went to that appreciation promotion banquet thing. So I met a lot of people that day, and I'm not too good with recognizing people after just meeting them one time.
Oh man, I trained with people for years. I still don't know their names.
So
everybody.
We go to that seminar in Visalia at Elite Team Visalia, and we do the seminar, and then we hang out the first night, and they have the open mat on Sunday, and I go to open mat. We're rolling, and then I see Baker. He has his One World Jiu-Jitsu rash guard on, and I'm like, "You're from One World?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Craig's my coach." He's like, "No way." So we roll, and then after we take the picture, and I send it to you. It's just small world, like, and he.
Hence the gym name, One World.
I've gone to open mat before, and like 90% of the ones that I've gone to, I've asked a black belt to roll with, and they've been inviting, but there's still that few black belts that won't roll with especially a white belt, right? Like,
yeah,
I've got that. I didn't even get told no. I just get like the look, and they walk away like, "Hey, peasant, you don't deserve to roll with me."
Yeah, some gyms are that old etiquette of like you don't ask a black belt to roll with you; they ask you to roll with them. I don't really know why, but we'll buck that trend. You can just ask anybody to train. If they want to train, they'll train. If they don't, then they don't.
Yeah.
Move on to the next person. There's plenty of bodies.
Especially at Coffee Crew, most 90% of those guys are open to rolling and guiding you through stuff while you're rolling. So I just try to take advantage of every opportunity that I can with those guys. But Scary Gary, again, I probably met him at the banquet dinner and didn't remember, but we're at Open Mat, and he's got his One World rash guard on, and I'm like, hey, Craig's my coach. It always starts with, hey, Craig's my coach. Oh, yeah, Craig. And there you go. So, yeah, but those guys are great. Both those guys, every time I see them, they're very welcoming. But that's just the jiu-jitsu community, I think. Like, for the most part, I mean, I've been shined on by a couple people, like, I don't roll with you guys and whatever, but for the most part, blue, brown, I was the white belt, right? I rolled with the white belts, and like, I felt like I needed to, at first, I would only roll with the white belts. You know, the first couple times I went to the open mats, I wasn't, not that I wasn't confident, but I wasn't like sure of how things were going, how things would go. Especially the first one, right? Like, I'm at the first one, and I didn't really know how or what I was doing.
Because you went to a couple open mats before we even started the jiu-jitsu program, before you even training jiu-jitsu, if I remember correctly. Is that correct?
No, I think we had been training like maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then I was at the first one. Yeah.
So what the hell went through your mind where you go, I'm going to go to an open mat? And you
shit.
have no training at all, and you just like, I show up, and then...
Well, it's funny because, I was rolling with a couple of white belts, and, the wrestler in me kept top position, and, stayed in good position. And then I rolled with Alex, who's one of the black belts that goes to Coffee Crew, and he's a big guy. Like, he's a little bit bigger than me. So I was like, shit, and he's a black belt, and he wants to roll with me. I'm like, damn. And he, like, I knew that ass whooping was coming, and I took the ass whooping. And he put me Americana, and he's gently putting pressure, gently.
But did you even know how to tap? Did you even know that you could say tap? Or did you
yeah,
even know how to tap?
Yeah, I knew. And I
like, ow, stop, that hurts. Okay, well, then just say tap. What does that mean? What is this tap thing?
So he's gently putting pressure, and I'm like, all right, I can handle it. And then pop. And then he's like, oh, you're supposed to tap. I was about to, but then that happened. That was the
tap
very
early so you can come back to practice the next day.
Open mat. That was the very first one, and like, the adrenaline's rolling through you, is flowing, and I'm like, oh, I'm good. Fuck, my elbow was fucked up for like 3 weeks.
Oh my god,
I was barely able to wipe my ass. Shit.
Tap early, man. Tap early, survive, and come back the next day.
Now, but see, like, those situations, you like, I put myself there, and now I know if it's getting close, tap. But you see at practice, right? We'll go over arm bars, and people have it in deep, and I'm just laying there like, okay, anytime, like.
Hey, much more comfortable in that position now.
So,
and their technique is not all that great, so we have to work on that.
And like the if there's no pressure, if I don't feel danger, they need to know I don't feel danger so that they can.
But keep in mind, though, going forward, keep in mind that if the mechanics are locked up right, the next step is they might pop their hips too high.
Right.
And then cause damage. So you went from like 0 to 100, with no in-between ability to tap. So if you're rolling with somebody, you just keep that in mind. So if all the mechanics are right, they don't have to necessarily finish, especially if you're doing the drill.
Right.
You don't have to necessarily wait till you get all that tension and stuff. Because
Yeah.
even that tension and that pressure is still causing, some damage or some soreness. So maybe we can alleviate that. So, the next day you can be a little bit fresher too.
Right.
And you can just kind of make sure the mechanics are right. And then, like the other day when we were going over the arm bar and keeping the elbow in the pocket and stuff like that, you were saying how mine was super tight. And just by having the arm in the pocket, it was super tight. And then
by
the gentleman
far
we were working with, it was, his then picked up a little bit too.
Yeah, that was interesting to see or feel. Like you had put me in an arm bar in demonstration before, like in instruction when you're teaching, and like you were going over the steps, but the depth that you went over, and it really wasn't anything more than what you already taught us. But when you were teaching him and you were explaining it to him, like the tension that I felt on my shoulder and on my elbow, and you hadn't even started to stretch my arm, I was like, holy cow. There was that thing in my head, like, damn, that's another level that I haven't even got to yet.
Yeah, I wish I could achieve that Super Saiyan level at all times on all moves. That would be pretty awesome. But yeah, I mean, live rolling though, and situational drilling, and then just application drilling is completely different. That's why we always say, it depends.
Right.
It depends what your opponent gives you, body type, structures, things of that nature. Just so happen that when you're going over the technique, if you can get everything perfect. With the armbar, armbar from guard, you don't even have to elevate your hips.
Right.
Everything is super tight from the get-go. It's already a finish, at that particular point.
Right.
So, yeah. And that was the other thing I was referring to earlier is like, when like then if you apply the same positioning to the gentleman we were working with, he has a tendency to fall over as well as some of the other new people do.
Right.
That's that body positioning that we're talking about, knowing the body and stuff like that. And, here you're in that position. You just base out a little bit wider.
Right.
Get your balance a little bit more.
But that, I guess that part comes from already having the wrestling background.
Yeah.
Because like the gentleman we're talking about.
The athleticism alone, I mean, just, like with their first 5 students that we had was just tremendous. I mean, we went right into like basics. And we just evolved those basics right into combinations.
Right.
We were just bringing arm bars to triangles to omoplatas,
Right.
We were just whipping everything together. And there was classes and lessons where it was 3 moves deep and we were just chaining things together. It was like chain wrestling.
And progressing from there.
And progressing from there. And then, I don't know, everybody parted companies and went their own ways. And
everyone's on a siesta right now. It's okay.
Yeah.
But
Nashi's come back and it's like she didn't even skip a beat. She was like went right into everything. It's like she had already been there for
that muscle
weeks.
memory.
Yep.
Well, that's the good thing about being an athlete and training, like Nashi, for example. Even though she's been hit and miss, her life is busy with her tattooing and what have you. She jumps back in and she came to a wrestling practice a few weeks back and all right, we're doing this, Nashi. She looks and she's like, I'm like, give her the first step of what we're doing or the first motion, and she's like, oh yeah, I got it. And then it's just boom, 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 boom.
Yeah.
And it's nice, but we don't.
It's nice when you got students coming in like that, and you can kind of go through the progressions and do everything.
Right.
Kind of as a coach, you kind of feel like, oh, okay, cool. I did a good job today, as opposed to like stopping and then breaking it down and not really getting through the game plan that you had originally thought about too. That's the other thing with coaching is really, really hard, especially with the small group that we have. I have you,
right?
A heavyweight, older. We had Izzy, which was 107 pounds wet,
soaking wet.
And then we had myself, we had Jesse, we had Nashi. So we didn't really have a group of people like the same size that we could all train with and work with and everything. But the fact that everybody made it work as well as you guys did was really amazing. It's really amazing. But we don't have any. But we can't get that live rolling aspect going that that we really need to start developing everybody's game.
Right.
So, which is a shame.
It's coming along. That old saying from Field of Dreams: if you build it, they'll come. And look what's going on with the youth wrestling program. We started that early last year, and we did Fridays and Saturdays, and the Fridays was during advanced class, and I had those kids, but Saturday I'd show up, and if I was lucky, we had 3 or 4 kids. And 90% of the time, it was one or two. Did I tell
you one of the days I came all the way down on Thursday and there was nobody there?
Yeah, it was the day that my nephew
cut his hand. Yeah, cut his hand, right?
No, he had went, but he was running late, and he didn't tell me that he was running late, and I had something going on with wrestling, and he sent me a picture, and he's like, he showed me the gym. The lights
that was
were off.
another time. Yeah, that was another time where Amber said, "Hey, nobody's showing up," so yada yada yada, and I was like, "Oh, all right then. I guess I'll just go home." But no, there was a time that I came all the way down, and I got there, and the place was locked up, so I unlocked it. I went inside. I got there a few minutes after 8, but nobody showed up at 8:30. So I was there literally. I was doing the old meme that we see on Instagram now about what does a black belt do? They sweep and they mop. Sweeping before and they're mopping afterwards. So literally I swept and mopped and then clocked out and I went home.
Yeah.
It was 8:30 or 8:45, 8:50 or 9 o'clock when I went home. Nobody actually showed up that day. But according to what I understand, because when I talked to my coach about it, he's like, yeah, when you're first getting started, you're going to have those kind of days and stuff like that. He goes, you just keep at it. He goes, and before you know it,
just trust
you have
the
a program.
Process.
Yeah, you have a program.
Yeah, I mean, the youth wrestling program right now, like I said, if I was lucky, 3 or 4 on Saturday, and then, 1 or 2, a lot of times just 1, sometimes none. And then, it helped that we changed the day, but on Thursday we had 18 kids, and it's been consistent. It's been and staying consistent. And
I'm worried what I'm going to get on Monday, first kids class.
It'll be all right.
Be like 30, 40 students here. I'm just like, I quit.
Yeah. Yeah. Doing it as long as you have one we could build with. So.
Yeah. I mean, we had little David coming to the adult class, and Amber was like, how the hell did he even get in the adult class? It's like, I don't know. He just showed up one day, and his dad asked us, yeah, come on in. And I said, so we just kept working with him. And
his dad said he's going to do jiu-jitsu. He's going to do wrestling.
Oh, my God, dude. His dad just keeps, tugging at my shirt. Hey, you're doing a class, right? You're doing a class, right? Yeah, we're doing the class. All right. He goes, I heard you're doing the class. I'm like, we're not announcing it yet, but, yeah, there is a kids program coming. Okay, great. Let me know when, He's
so
super
he'll be
excited.
There on Monday.
Yeah.
He'll be there tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. Of course he's going to be there tomorrow. Yeah. If he doesn't show up, I would be truly surprised. I might have to get his phone number from Amber and say, hey, what the hell happened to you?
Yeah. So.
But that enthusiasm as a coach, I mean, that goes a long way.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just trust
trust in the process, young Jedi.
It's young whippersnapper.
Padawan.
Yeah. So, I mean, that part of it, building, I just think it opened the doors. And even if there's no one the first day or there's one person the first day, just keep opening the door and giving people opportunity. Give the youth the opportunity to stay off the streets and what have you.
It's just like every day coming in and going to practice, and then before you know it, like the old adage, like I tell you guys, the only difference between a white belt and the black belt is a black belt was a white belt that never quit.
Yeah.
So. And somebody told me that a long time ago, and
here you are.
Yeah. Holy shit, it's true. Can't believe it.
So, so what advice would you have for people just starting out, people that are, a year in, like me, that, or people that are not at my level or even above
Well, what did
my
I
level?
tell you? What did I tell you as a blue belt?
It depends.
No, what did I tell you when I gave you the blue belt?
Don't quit.
Yeah, so
Because most blue belts stop
most
coming
blue
after
belts
they
quit.
get their blue belt.
Exactly. Most blue belts quit. So don't quit.
Yeah.
That's the best advice I can give. It's not going to be easy. Some people it's easier, than some people it's harder. But the point is, you just don't quit. I mean, if you want that goal, then keep going for it.
Right.
When I started, I didn't ever think that. I was told, okay, just don't quit, and eventually you will be a black belt. And I was like, oh, okay, that's how that works. But never did I keep.
You're all how many belts before black?
Yeah, 20 years. What? Never did I think that I would be sitting here 18 years later with my own program, with my own classes, on a podcast talking with you about the journey. Never did I at some particular point think that, I want this, I never.
This is how it's going to be, the lavish lifestyle
I just
of
kept,
the jiu-jitsu coach.
just kept showing up day in, day out. The one thing I always did is I did was a little different than most people, is even when I was injured, if I could, I would train. There's a few times I got injured where I couldn't train, but I still trained.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing is that I would check my ego and just accept the fact that, you know what, maybe today I am going to get beat by a white belt or a blue belt because I can't move my body in the manner that I want to move it because part of my body is injured.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you tie up an arm and you try and do jiu-jitsu and they're passing to the side where you have no arm, it's hard to stop them.
Right.
So if I was injured, I would just make sure that I defended that injury very, very well. And that would be my focus, would be defending that injury to the point where it wasn't being capitalized, wasn't being used. Maybe I had to give up other positions, but then my defense became really good. So if I had a hurt elbow, I would defend that arm by all costs. And if I gave up position, if I gave up other appendages and got submitted because I gave up my back because I saved the arm, so be it. I still saved the arm. So I think that really helped elevate my defensive game over time.
Mm-hmm.
But just persistence, just like every day you show up and train, every day. I mean, you take your time off when you need your time off because you don't want to get burnt out, of course. But before you know it, the days go by, the weeks go by, the months go by, the years go by.
Yeah.
You see some people, they've come and gone. You've seen other people come and go. You see people come in after you, and then they've accelerated better than you, faster than you. But you just keep treading along, and day in, day out, day in, day out. And then at some particular point, you just look back and you go, oh, shit, I'm 10 years into this game. Oh, shit, I have a brown belt, or I got a purple belt, or
I'm still a blue belt.
These people are asking me for advice, and, how would I do this situation? And before you know it, the journey behind you is larger than, the journey in front of you. I think when I was a blue belt, there's a lot of questions like, man, is this for me? Am I going to get there someday? And, I struggled with a lot of things. And eventually they finally started coming to me, and I started developing those games and those positions and understanding everything a lot better. Then all of a sudden, it's just like light switches started shooting off. Just pew, pew, pew,
yeah. You're not the first one I've heard that from. I've heard that a few times.
I did
at
not
the purple belt level.
Yeah.
It just all
exactly.
of a sudden everything
Exactly.
you've been doing all these years just
I could not do a
starts
triangle.
clicking.
I could not do a triangle to save my life. Like, I have
still
two
can't
short
do one
legs.
either.
I have two short legs. I have too short of legs. And next thing you know, as a purple belt, like one day Jake was teaching a class, and he mentioned something within that class about the leg positioning and the concept of it. And I'm like, oh, okay, I understand that now. And then all of a sudden, triangles were on point. I mean, I don't shoot a lot of triangles,
Mm-hmm.
But if I shoot a triangle and I get my triangle locked up, I'm probably going to finish it depending upon who I'm with.
Mm-hmm.
But like when we're practicing triangles, I get the concept. I know where to position my body. I know to turn the corner. I know to slice the legs. I know the different variances. Like all of a sudden, all that stuff that I didn't know, it just one day I knew it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one day I woke up and all of a sudden I was proficient at triangles. And it didn't matter the size of the opponent. My triangles and my legs worked. If they were small, they worked. If they were a big person, my triangles still worked. You know, and it was just like one day it just clicked. So no matter how much you're putting into it or, you know, where you are at with it, if you just keep at it over time, yeah, you'll get it. Maybe you won't be Gordon Ryan, but you know, you'll be 18 years into it. You'll be a black belt. You'll have your own class, your own students. You know, you have the respect of your associates, your partners, your training partners, and things of that nature. And the other thing is just, you know, just check the ego. I mean, you don't have to win every match. You don't have to win every drilling session, every training session. You know, when you're out in a competition or something like that, that's the time to put that foot forward.
Right.
You know, I was actually told one time somebody hadn't seen me compete before, but they seen me in the gym. And in the gym, I don't want to say I mess around a lot because I value the time that we're training, but I do take it lightly because I enjoy what I'm doing, and I don't want it to be like, oh, it's a job, it's work, right, and then develop a hate for it. So, you know, it's very personal to me, and, you know, I will open myself up, leave myself open to opportunities, and, you know, I get caught, and sometimes I pay the price. But when I stepped on the mat and I was doing a competition, and I think I won that competition, as I came back off, somebody told me, like, holy shit. He goes, I was kind of wondering how you were going to do. He goes, when you stepped on the mat and you were competing, he goes, you were totally different. He goes, that wasn't the Craig that I know in the gym. And I'm like, yeah, I don't need to be that, you know, that aggressive, that technical in the gym. I mean, I probably should be, but, you know, the gym is my safe place. I can go there, train. I know if I'm training with somebody, I'm safe. Yeah. You know?
It's that therapy session.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the other thing too. Like, if you want some advice, make sure wherever you're training, you feel safe. If you feel safe, you're training with your partners. You know, you're putting your well-being in those other people's hands. Just make sure you feel safe. And if you don't, there's thousands of schools. Find another school. You know, find somewhere else to train. You'll find that right place, and just stick at it. Stay at it.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, giving me the time, giving me the opportunity to have you on here. I really appreciate your story. And
that's only part of it.
Yeah, we don't need to go down the deep side.